Hello, my name is Andy Jordan, and I am the founder of a cybersecurity company called New Genesis Solutions. And when I began my journey to start my own company, there were a lot of things that I didn't know. So I'm starting this as a 10-part series, and we can see how long it lasts to really capture all the things that I've learned along the way. I have nothing to sell you. I'm doing this as a series because I think it's helpful for me to go back and reflect, and I'm hoping that you learn some things along the way. I'm also going to be the editor of these videos, and so as a way to keep myself sane, it's very likely that I'm going to add some commentary to the top right. And my hope is this will be both entertaining and help to further expand on things that I may not fully communicate as I'm talking through things. But as I hear it again, I realize I might need to define things a little better. Another thing that I'm planning to do, and each video will be separate. In this video specifically, I'm going to count the words the filler words that I use in the bottom right. So things like and weird pauses and everything else, we're going to count it. It's going to be an interesting experience seeing what that number is. Feel free to take your bets. I'm okay with that. But, with that, thank you for joining. And so topic really getting started is, when did I know it was the right time to become a CEO? It sounds really important, but I think there are three things that I really feel like a person, an individual needs to have, and I find that this is true for myself. The first is needing to have drive or stubbornness. You can kind of go both ways with it. Next is experience within the industry that you would like, experience or expertise. Both are important, and I would lean more on the side of expertise. And last being the support of other people in the field or other people around you to support, aspects that you may not see yourself. So for myself, how did this present those things? So what were my personal markers that I had found? One, I think, in terms of desire and stubbornness, my parents had always instilled within me a sense of being my own boss. For them, it didn't make so much of a difference between lawn care business or working in any corporate job or starting a real estate company. The point wasn't so much the type of business, just that I was running the business, and that was really important to them. And so I just grew up that way. For contrast, though, they never had their own business. So I don't have a family business. I don't come from a trust fund. I don't do any of those other things. So I never started with $1 million. That's not a thing. The next one, in terms of developing expertise, I am a cybersecurity industry expert, but I have also had experience leading other cybersecurity professionals and building security programs already. And I had done that before. So I had experience as a manager of cybersecurity professionals in patching and vulnerability management, security operations, risk management, and offensive security. The last thing that I felt was really important is I had people that trusted me. I had people that were willing to let me be a contractor or moonlight on the side of a full-time job. Now, this is a somewhat sensitive area, but ultimately I found ways that I could test the waters and see if I could deliver a project by myself under my own label. And I felt that gave me an opportunity and a little bit of confidence that I could do this when I stepped out fully. And the last one, of course, and then in that support is I found people in my network that were able to share their experiences of leading and guiding companies, not security teams, but companies. All right, so here's how it actually happened for me. While I was working for a cybersecurity company in 2018, it was a managed service provider. 2 weeks after Christmas, I was called on a Friday night at 6 p.m. and told that I was being let go. no severance package, no reason. And before anybody starts to question, say, oh man, you must have really upset somebody, I didn't. My clients really liked me, and we can go into maybe more of that at a later point in time in terms of that situation. But for right now, maybe just trust me in the sense of saying I didn't do anything wrong. So there I was 2 weeks after Christmas. I had a little bit of cash reserves. I had about 10K. And ultimately, I was left with a choice. I had done a little bit of moonlighting on the side, and knew that it was possible for me, but I wasn't quite ready to fully jump out. And so I was at this crossroads to go, do I go and try and find another job and maybe see if I could moonlight a little bit more, or do I lean into my desire to start a company? Now, this sounds like a really simple issue, and in fact, you're like, 4 years later, you must have really done it. It was perfect for you. It was not that easy for me. This was a very big emotional struggle, and I had numerous talks with my wife, who was also working to create her own business at the time, called Fizzy Cauldron, about what we should do. Now, another one to add more context, my kids at the time were 8 and 4. And so that's kind of a really fun age for parents out there, but needing to spend a lot of time with family. So, with all that in mind, the way I figured is if we really limited spending, I figured we could last 8 weeks. And the short version is it took a lot longer than that, but that's really where the start was. I'd called every contact I could. I had asked them, were there any projects that I can help out with? I had called my old managers at the time from previous companies. I had called other industry contacts. I called other IT service companies. I called some of my old clients that just knew me personally, and really kind of offered to help. During this time, I created a lot of marketing material to help really define my service. And I'll put service in quotes because, in retrospect, seeing some of the things that I had, they were pretty bad. I also had a lot of bad ideas about what a company would be. And I feel like it's honest to say that some of these ideas about what a company could be were crap. Now, let's define what that means. There are things that are valuable, but that don't make a lot of sense in business. For example, there's a lot of desire in the world to help people. There's a lot of gaps in how cybersecurity is being rolled out or supported for consumers. For example, all the Facebook hacking, all of the email compromises, phishing exercises, things that are going through users' cell phones, text messages, all of that is crazy. Wouldn't it be nice if there was somebody or a service that you can go to help protect that? The challenge is that's not really a viable business. And most people who get their cybersecurity or get onto the internet do so for free or through the help of the internet service provider, and then the rest of it is free. So then why would they spend? It's a harder avenue to get uphill if people aren't going to spend money at the start of protecting their Instagram, for example. The next one is I had done a lot of cybersecurity and risk management. It would be great. Like, let me help you build your default set of policies out there. The reality is most of the time, once you're done with your set of policies, there's very little backplaying that you can do. And there's a lot of free policies that are out there. So why pay for mine? So those were just some examples that I'll share because they're not bad ideas. They're just not viable business ideas. And so short version to 2018 when I started is thankfully by the end and through the relationships that I had, I was able to survive. During the year, it's not all roses. Here's the honest truth. During the year and in those first couple months, I had to clean out the college fund that we had started for my kids, that me and my wife had started saving, and that I had to take out $4,000, all of it, but it was about $4,000. I also had to, I took a loan from my parents and that was about $5,000 just to kind of get us through some of the hurdles. And ultimately, the short version, and here's the positive end of that story. By the end of the year, I was able to pay it all back. I put all the money back into my kids' college fund, and also I paid back my parents as well. And so as I closed the end of my first year, if 2018 for me was about survival, then or surviving, then my hope for 2019 was about really thriving, and that was the mantra that I had used as I went through. There were a lot of things to where I just felt dumb. There were things that I just didn't know, and I knew that I had people that were willing to partner with me. And so that was really the start of how I went through. And my hope is, that this is interesting for you and helpful. But I'd love to hear your feedback as we kind of go through the series. This is going to go up on YouTube. So as always, I think the common thing is like and subscribe. Would love to hear more of kind of what makes sense for you. But ultimately, I will catch you in the next video. Have a great night.